Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Voices of Fostering. I'm delighted today to be joined by one of our lovely staff members from the National Fostering Group, one of our support workers, who's Tim. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. So, Tim, tell us a bit about your role within NFG and what a support worker does.
Okay. We work directly with the young people in foster care. We get referrals through from social workers or from our support and social workers to do direct work with young people if necessary. So if any issues have arisen regarding behaviour or, their sort of place within fostering, how comfortable they are, how happy they are, we go in and speak to these young people, form relationships, prove to them other adults can be trusted. We work a lot with specific package within fostering as well. The Invictus package is something that we do a lot of, which is guaranteed support work. And a lot of it's about building relationships with young people and making them comfortable within fostering generally.
Yeah. And can you give us an example, Tim, of a challenge that might arise in a child or young person's life who's in a fostering home? What sort of challenges can arise and how you assist with them?
Sure. There's a myriad of things, I guess. Primarily when young people come into care, obviously there's a big adjustment to their lives, becoming comfortable in a new family, in a new home. So we do a lot of conversations, a lot of exploring ideas and feelings. That sort of thing can be very general and as well as very specific. It depends on the needs of the young person, really.
And if anybody, is listening today or watching and they're thinking about becoming a foster carer, but they're worried about, these things that do arise, these challenges that do arise, how would you reassure them really that there is a massive network of people around you, isn't there? It's not like you just get approved and then you're left to it by yourself. There's so much support. You are literally called a support worker. So there's a lot of support there, isn't there?
There is indeed. Obviously, there's direct support workers like myself. There's a massive team of professionals involved in fostering, particularly in this agency. A lot of very experienced professionals working with children and working with families in all different aspects. So, yeah, you're never alone in this sort of thing. And I will say this for the group: it's excellent at getting people to network. And there's obviously contact with other foster carers. There's a buddy system, that sort of thing. So. It's you're part of a network where you can share best practice and talk to each other and share ideas and see what fits and see what doesn't fit, see what's worked in the past and what might work for your young person. There's also support groups, many support groups for different parts of the agency, different parts of the region rather. I myself run a men's support group, Men Who Foster, which is the Northwest region. So there's countless people to talk to and to unload if you need to, and to, like I say, get best ideas, best practice, that sort of thing. A lot of professionals in there.
I think it's really important for people to access that community, isn't it? Because once you do become a foster carer, there's lots of other people who are doing it as well, and you can all support each other.
Yeah, precisely. That the support groups are usually well attended for that reason alone, just to come and talk about your experiences. The reason we set up the Men Who Foster group particularly is we found that there was nothing available for just men who foster. Obviously, the male experience is quite different to that. We're often not the primary carers, things like that. So to come and speak to people who are in a similar position as yourself, with more or less experience, is really valuable, we find. Yeah.
What would you say, Tim, are some of the common misconceptions about fostering? What do you think are some of the things that people worry about or people assume that may not be true?
I think further to what you said there, of like if there's a lack of support, there isn't. There's a lot of people to talk to. There's a lot of people very invested in making young people's lives more comfortable and within the fostering industry. Something I've experienced sort of on a personal level is just trying to talk to people about the job I do, and there's a certain ignorance of don't you just work with naughty children, which is obviously widely inaccurate, and that's not the sort of thing we're involved with. That we deal with very complicated children, very complex children, and children who've been displaced from their normality to a new normality, really. So it's working through those sort of things and prejudices regarding the type of children you're going to work with and the families, being difficult and different things like that. And obviously these are all individual things. But yeah, if anyone wants to talk about fostering, I'm quite happy to tell them that they're wrong if they have those ideas.
And do you find that you're quite passionate about fostering in your everyday life, Tim? Like, in your personal life as well? Are you a big advocate for fostering?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I absolutely love my job. I made no bones about it. I've worked for the agency for just over 10 years now. Yeah. I'll continue doing so until my legs give out. I worked in other agencies with children, contact centres, youth clubs, schools, that sort of thing. And I feel I'm in the right place, best suited for my skills and best suited to do the best we can for young people. And I think fostering is an excellent option. And
yeah.
It's a great thing to do if you can.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you've got one of those jobs that is more than just a job. It's like you're really sort of doing it with your heart. It's not just something that, pays the bills sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's not a normal 9 to 5. It isn't when we're dealing with some of the best young people out there, and to be able to feel you've done something worthwhile at the end of the day is really valuable to me. And yeah, like I say, I mean, I work with the best kids. They're fantastic. Everyone I'm working with at the minute, past and present. I still have relationships with young people who've left care system a few years back. We work with these young people and look into their eyes every week. So, you do develop those sorts of attachments, which are positive.
And you say there, a lot of the work that you do is very, very valuable and it feels really worthwhile for you. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job, Tim?
I suppose it depends on what needs addressing at the time. I often sort of, when I first meet a young person, I'll on an initial visit of saying, I'm going to be your support worker. We tend to have a little bit of a sort of spiel of, I'm not a carer, so I'm not going to discipline you in that way. We're going to explore ideas and talk about alternatives for behaviour, that sort of thing. I'm not a social worker, so we're not going to up sticks in the middle of the night and move on. So we sort of develop it in that different space, and it's a little bit easier to sort of build trust and relationships and that sort of thing. So, sorry, I feel like I just rambled there. Sorry.
It's all right. Ramble away, Tim. No, you're not rambling at all. Do you think there's any moments that stand out for you, like maybe where your support has really made a difference to a particular foster carer or foster child? Can you think of any instances?
I suppose that there's a sort of few, like, they feel sort of low key, really. Of like, I'm just thinking of a young person. He's no longer with us, but he went back to his birth family. It was all planned, and it took a long time to happen, and all these things. They did the right amount of work for his parents to take him back. But I had a message off him just before Christmas, and it was just that sort of glowing thing of like, I'm so pleased that we did the things we did in the timescale we did, and you were very valuable to me, and like, I'm sorry for doing this, and blah blah blah. Just those sort of small, the things that are hard to measure. There's no real metric for it. It's just, I've seen a young person develop in the life he's working now, which is fantastic. And there was a lot of conversation over the years of him, really failing in life, and he's turned it around. And I think the support work was instrumental in that. Obviously, his foster carers are fantastic as well, and everyone else involved in his journey. But I sort of felt that on a personal level.
Yeah, absolutely.
We set this young man up for the future, and he's absolutely thriving, which that's his reward. You know?
And there's probably even more of them that you're not even aware of. Maybe they haven't sent you a message or got in touch, and you've touched so many people's lives. That's incredible.
Yeah, a lot of young people now, right?
Yeah.
It's 10 years this. So I've got young people I work with now who it depends on the young person and the personality of, I get a card every sort of Christmas and birthday off one of my young people, who's autistic. And it's just, it's sort of embarrassing, but it's sort of like a glowing review of how much he respects my time and how much you love spending time with me. And his carers often reflect that as well, of just being with that young person is valuable to him and his life. And it's just lovely to hear, isn't it? But it's sometimes hard to see the reward because we live in the moment, and just a young person going on a further education is a big deal. Just finding that out, or if they give me a ring and say, "Oh, I've got a job," or whatever. Another young person, again at Christmas, he was like, "Oh, I'm working now." It's like magic. It's lovely to hear those.
So we have a lot of people who listen to the podcast, Tim, who are obviously doing their research, thinking about maybe becoming a foster carer, maybe applying or finding out more. You work with foster children and young people and foster carers. You have first-hand experience of it. You obviously love it. What advice would you give to those people who are thinking about it?
I suppose you've got to ask, can you offer a care and loving home to a young person who might present challenges? And, do you have the requisite patience and understanding to work with a young person who's going through a very difficult time? Well, again, like I said before, I would very much encourage people, if they've got that mindset and they do want to do something positive for young people or try and positively affect a young person's life, I think fostering is fantastic.
Yeah.
I really do.
And they need to rest assured that there's so much support for them, and they'll meet people like you who'll help them.
Bring the agency, and they'll tell you everyone involved, and it's very well covered in that respect. There's always someone to talk to. There's the on call, and there's always someone 24 hours a day. If you don't, if you've not got time to speak to your buddy or your own network of people, or if I'm in bed, there's always someone available.
You do have to sleep at some point.
There's tons of professionals.
Tim, it's been fantastic speaking to you and hearing about your role within the National Fostering Group. What an incredible impact you're making on children and young people. So thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.